The world's largest cryptocurrency exchange has a new CEO and one of the largest criminal fines in US history. Is this the end for Binance or the beginning of a whole new start? On today's episode of Token Trader TV, we'll look at the Web3 headlines that are affecting the market, take a look at the top tokens and how they're moving. We'll examine a secret entry technique and how you can use it to set limits at other people's stops. But first, a disclaimer. I am an amateur. This is not advice. This is entertainment. If you're wondering, who is this clown? I'm just a dude on the internet, so do your own research, make good choices, and wipe your own nose. The whole reason I'm making these videos is because I want to teach my kids how to trade cryptocurrency tokens for a profit. And if you'd like to learn with us, then come along. The biggest news this week was CZ, Changpeng Zhao, stepping down as CEO of Binance. He pled guilty to violating anti-money laundering laws and to violating the Bank Secrecy Act. He's out on $150 million of bail, and Binance has agreed to pay $4.3 billion in fines. And he's joined a whole host of other ex-crypto people, but it's different with CZ, because with CZ, he's actually been protecting us from another crash. Could you imagine if we saw what happened when FTX collapsed, when Sam Bankman-Fried had tanked his exchange? If we saw another deflation in the crypto market like we did then, but that didn't happen because CZ played ball, because he stepped in and took the hit for the rest of the crypto market. But a point of advice from Crypto Ferris on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, he says, if you ever become a billionaire, never appear in this dude's videos. It seems to not work out well. Now, the $4.3 billion fine that Binance is paying, according to Ryan Sean Adams, he says, this feels like extortion. The US, this says, seeks more than $4 billion from Binance to end criminal cases. It's kind of like when Leslie Nielsen or the SEC says, you're under arrest for fraudulent use of consumer funds. And Binance says, how about $4 billion to say I ain't? And the DOJ says, well, I guess you're not that guilty. It does seem a little bit like a mafia extortion. And what the SEC is doing is they're protecting us from exchanges that are generally operating well, and they're not protecting us from the rug pulls and the scams that actually are causing security issues. According to Hercules DeFi, he says while Binance saw a net outflow of $1.2 billion in the last 24 hours due to CZ's exit, these other four exchanges saw a net inflow, making Binance's loss the other centralized exchanges' gain. And I think this all ties together with what Dan Gambardello says, a crypto recruiter on X. He says, ask yourself, why did the SEC sue Coinbase in June and then wait months to sue Kraken for practically the same thing, a day before Binance settles with the DOJ? It's all calculated, he says, resetting the playing field for the trillions to flow into crypto. And it makes a lot of sense. It does give some understanding of why they're doing this. If, in case you missed this was kind of washed over by the Binance news, but the SEC is suing Kraken again, alleging it's an unregistered exchange, mixing user funds. This article from Cointelegraph says the SEC alleged Kraken operated as an unregistered exchange, broker, dealer, and clearing agency. And according to SEC regulations, those are supposed to be different roles when you're dealing in securities. And it said that Sol and Cardano and about a dozen other tokens were securities, and that Kraken was commingling customer assets with its own. Kraken has said that they're going to fight this case, and this is really lame because this article is from February. February of 2023, CoinDesk reported that Kraken shuts its U.S. crypto staking service and paid a $30 million fine in the SEC settlement. And so the lesson is, if you settle with the SEC, they can still come back and sue you. Because what they want isn't necessarily to create something that's safe for consumers. What they want is to have their allies control the flow from fiat into crypto. for US users. Grayscale met this week with the SEC to discuss their spot Bitcoin ETF details. According to Cointelegraph, they met to discuss a rule change to list the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. And what I find really interesting, it says in this article that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which has the ticker GBTC, one of the changes that they made is that they're going to call it BTC in the New York Stock Exchange. And so that's great branding if you can get it. I love what Freddie Reynolds said. He said that people in crypto are looking at this and they're saying, CZ may go to prison and there's about $4 billion in fines for Binance. All things considered, this was an extremely bullish outcome. People not in crypto, they don't get this. But those of us who are in this, we see that what the SEC wanted to do was to remove their opponents from the board. And now there's a clear path for their allies to funnel the funds of US consumers into Bitcoin and to profit along the way. There's a lot of great Bitcoin news out there because Mt. Gox is finally commencing repayments in cash to its creditors. According to Milk Road, Mt. Gox was the largest Bitcoin exchange in 2013. They handled 70% of all Bitcoin trades in 2013. But in 2014, they suffered a hack and lost over 800,000 Bitcoin. Back then, Bitcoin was worth $600 or so. And so everybody that had accounts on Mt. Gox has been waiting for repayment. And it looks like that's going to happen later this year, early next year. And they're going to be faced with this choice. The red pill is it's been 9 years, sell it and take a big profit because their Bitcoin holdings went up 61x in that time. Or blue pill, it's been 9 years, you might as well hodl for some more. I found this meme in Milk Road's daily newsletter. If you don't get their newsletter, I highly recommend you subscribe. It's full of great alpha every single day. But this may create selling pressure on Bitcoin. If there's a lot of people who take this red pill and sell a lot of Bitcoin, it could create a lot of selling pressure and the price could go down. So you need to watch out for that later this month. In good news, the Bitcoin-friendly Javier Milei wins Argentina's presidential election. And the reason why this is good news is because Argentina has had a very hard time with inflation, 143% this year in their fiat currency. And so they decided that they were going to elect a self-described anarcho-capitalist. And so I don't know if Bitcoin is going to become legal tender in Argentina, but it sure does seem likely that Bitcoin is going to become more widely adopted down there. In bad Bitcoin news, a user overpaid by $3 million just in fees on a single transaction. As reported by The Block, there was some poor soul who paid 83 Bitcoin in fees. What he was doing was he was trying to transfer his 139 Bitcoin, which was worth $5.2 million. And what landed was 55.77 Bitcoin or $2.1 million. The majority of that transaction went to fees. And this is now the largest mistaken fee paid on the Bitcoin network in history. The last record was somebody paid $500,000 in fees and it was refunded. A large part of it was refunded by Paxos. But this $3.1 million, this definitely takes the cake. Bitcoin has been growing a lot over the Thanksgiving days. In America, it was Thanksgiving this week. And the price on Thanksgiving in 2014 was $367. In 2018, the price of one Bitcoin token was $4,300. In 2021, it was $56,000. And 1 year later, it went down to $16,000. And today it's back up to $37,000. Where's it going to be next year on Thanksgiving? Leave a guess in the comments and let me know how much you think Bitcoin is going to be worth next year. Finally, we're at the early side of this crypto adoption. Bunjil on X, he says, understand this, embrace this, and celebrate this. This is the diffusion of innovation curve. And we think that we've missed a piece of it, but all of us, the degens who are advanced Jedis and the newbies who are just figuring it out, all of us are at the beginning. So keep hodling on. Things are going to get really exciting over the next 2 years. Now let's look at the charts. Bitcoin has been trading in this same channel between 38,000 and 35.5. It's been stuck in this channel and hasn't been able to make a big move to either side. And a lot of other tokens have done the same. Some of them are trading a little wider. Some of them had some bad news. This is BNB. This big negative candle is the day that the criminal fine was announced. And the volatility on this is just incredible, going from 224 to 270 and everywhere in between. This volatility isn't reflected in XRP. XRP has been relatively tame, but what's interesting about XRP is that it's breaking out of this descending wedge. So I'm going to draw a couple of lines here on this chart using TradingView, and I'm going to connect some of the lows, and I'm going to connect a bunch of these highs. And we went through it once with one big wick, but if I connect all these, you notice that we broke out just 2 days ago. And so we haven't seen a big amplification. If I go to the weekly chart, you can see, that we're just above this descending channel. But I think this could be bullish news for XRP. Solana has clawed back a lot of the gains that it had earlier. It's been hovering around this $57 mark. But there's an interesting point here. I'm going to go from the daily chart to the weekly and then to the monthly. And we can see we're in this big spike on the monthly chart. But if you go back to one of the great things about having a bear market is we can look back at these times that give us levels to focus on. And you see this bottom wick right here, this goes down to $75. And so I'm going to put this on as a ray, and I'm just going to say, boom, that's $75. That's a line to watch out for. So if Solana continues to climb, I'm betting there will be a big bounce off of that line of resistance. And so if you're long Solana, that could be a really good place to take some profits. There were some really good movements in tokens in the top 100. This is cryptobubbles.net, and I'm looking at the weekly bubbles. The green bubbles went up, the red bubbles went down, and the bigger bubbles went more. And the three of the top moving tokens this week were Blur, which is an NFT marketplace, and there's been some renewed interest in NFTs after months of low volume, so that had a big spike. FTT, the token of the disgraced FTX exchange, has gone through some really good increases because there's been because it seems now that creditors are going to be getting some of their money back, and so people have been investing in the FTT token. It's kind of weird to see it spiking, but crypto's weird that way. The one that's got me really excited is Tau, BitTensor. This token is really hard to get. It's only on 4 exchanges, and it's really difficult to stake. What Tau does, what the BitTensor project does, is they have AI metering. Anytime you have an AI model, it needs processing power, it needs compute. And this is a decentralized network of AI compute so that anybody who's training a model can use BitTensor for the cycles that they need in order to display results. And so this token, I think, is a really good buy right now because it's not listed on Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. So if I come over onto TradingView, I'm going to look for TAOUSDT, and there's only 4 exchanges listed here. 3 exchanges, the Gate.io, BitGet, and MEXC. For some reason, KuCoin is not listing here, but I know you can get it on KuCoin too. And so those are the only 4 exchanges where you can even get this token. It's even more difficult to stake because you need to use a Polkadot.js wallet, so it's super geeky. And I look for projects that have a lot of potential, but not everybody's in them yet. Projects like this, when they get listed on Binance, everybody wants to get in. So even though the token it's been between $200 and $300 this week, right now it's trading at $236. It could be a really good buy. So keep Tau on your radar. So now let's hear about a secret entry technique you can use to start your trades.
Next time you're just about to put a trade on, you pick up something heavy and you just go, poof! And then you write down on a piece of paper where you were going to buy and where you're going to put your stop loss. Don't buy it, but put an order in to buy it at where you're going to put your stop loss. And then just watch how many times the market goes to your order. Okay? Markets will go to the obvious stops most of the time. And one of my rules is that I want to put my entries where the masses put their stops. So I think that you can think your way through most of that.
So I find this really interesting that where most people get stopped out, that's actually where you can get the best trades. And I'll show you how on the Ethereum chart. So here I am on the Ethereum chart, and I'm going to back test something. There's a tool that you can use called bar replay, where you could say, hey, I want to take a look at what happens over here, and it'll take you back in time. And then you can pretend that you're trading and see how you do. This is a really great way to test out your strategy without risking any capital. So let's say you're looking at the Ethereum chart from a few days ago, and you think that there's a trend line connecting these lower lows, right? And you think, okay, if I go long right here, I think Ethereum is likely to go long. If it goes below this trend line and makes a lower low, then my hypothesis is invalidated. So I'm going to set my stop below that line, and I'm going to have my take profit way up here, okay? And so what the gentleman just said is what if you set your limit order at the stop? So let's try that. I'm going to take a long order, and I'm going to put it at the place where I would have stopped out, and then have the profit go way up, and I'm going to have my my stop loss below the next lowest low. All right, and so now I'm going to go forward and see what happens. Day by day, look at that. That first trade got stopped out because I went through that stop, and a lot of people probably did. They probably said, oh, if it goes down below that, if it goes below the 200-day moving average, this orange line, then my hypothesis is invalidated. But look what happened over the next couple of days. Ethereum started going up. So if you had followed this advice a few days ago, you would have seen a tidy profit on your token trade. Thanks for watching another episode of Token Trader TV. Please subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and answer this question in the comments. When will the Bitcoin spot ETF get approved? Leave a date with a guess, and if you guess correctly, you will win a prize. So tell me, when do you think this spot ETF is going to be approved? Have fun out there.